So, Ty, more than 100,000 organizations are already building on Microsoft Foundry, and today, Microsoft just handed every single one of them a serious upgrade.
Yeah, that's right. A new frontier model, a new data zone, and the big one, production ready agents that you can actually ship. Not a preview, generally available.
Yeah, look, so if you've all been stuck in the brilliant demo, but I can't get it in front of my customer stage, then this is the episode from you. My name's John.
And I'm Ty. Welcome to AZ Bytes. So let's get right into it.
Right, okay, so let's set the scene then, Ty. So Microsoft's pitch for the agentic era has been quite simple. Build an agent where you already work, run it on infrastructure that you trust, and put it in front of people who actually need it. Without really trying to stitch all these five disconnected platforms together, right?
And that last part is really the pain, isn't it? Everybody can build an agent now. The hard bit is everything after the demo, securing it, deploying it, giving it access to real company data, keeping the cost intact, and actually getting it into the end user's hands.
Yeah, exactly, Ty. So that last mile is where most agents, and projects with agents, they quietly die. Let's just face it that way. So the news today lands across all of these three areas, all now generally available. We've got OpenAI's newest frontier models we're going to talk about. We've got a new Asia Pacific data zone that is meaningful, so stay tuned, and production agents in Foundry Agent Service.
And the way Microsoft is framing this is the whole platform is three pillars. One, build; two, generate; and three, govern. Build openly across models and frameworks, generate impact by connecting to your data, tools, and users, and then govern it so it's secure, managed, and worth the money.
Yeah, so I guess hold that framework in your head because everything that we're going to cover today slots into one of those three pillars. So, Ty, I guess let's start with build then. And build starts with the model, right?
It does, yes. So build generally starts where developers are already are. So think Foundry toolkits for VS Code and Foundry skills that handle deployment right from GitHub Copilot and Visual Studio Code.
Well, so there's no real context switch here. I'm in my editor as a developer. I get the agent built, and it can deploy directly to Foundry from there, right?
Yeah, exactly, John. And it's framework agnostic. So Microsoft Agent Framework, the GitHub Copilot SDK, which is now generally available, or the Claude Agent SDK. So it's up to you, really. Foundry is just a production destination. It all starts with picking the right brain, really. So the headline for a lot of people, GPT 5.6 is now generally available in Foundry, and it's not one model, which most people is going to be surprised with. It's actually a family of three, and each tuned to do a very, very different job.
Very cool. Talk me through them, Ty.
Okay, so the top of the range, this is GPT 5.6 Sol. It's the most advanced reasoning model, extended reasoning, agentic workflows, code heavy scenarios. So when the task is genuinely very, very tough and hard and you need the best thinking, that's Sol.
Cool. Okay, got it. So, what about that kind of everyday workhorse then?
Okay, so that's GPT 5.6 Terra. So this is really quite balanced. It's for the day-to-day work. Microsoft says it's competitive with GPT 5.5 on performance, but guess what? Lowering cost. So it's the one you should really scale across your whole business and organization.
So I'm assuming, Ty, with there being three, there's probably a nice small quick model as well, is there?
Absolutely correct as usual. So that's GPT 5.6 Luna. It's the fastest and most affordable in the family, built for high volume, latency sensitive workloads. The stuff where you're doing millions of small calls and every millisecond, and guess what? Penny or cent counts.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the bit I love, yeah, because it's genuinely practical. The old trap really was forcing every workload through that one big expensive model, but now we can match the model to the actual job. So to put it, in real numbers on it, because really that's where it tells the story, right, is the cost and the pricing of it.
Absolutely. So global standard global per million tokens. So if we look at Sol, that's $5 in 30 hour. Terra is $2 in and 15 hour. And Luna is $1 in 6 hour. So there you have it, John.
So you're saying Luna is about a fifth of the total input token costs of Sol. Um, so I mean, if your routing is relatively simple, where high volume calls go to Luna and you save Sol for the kind of those hard reasoning tasks, that's not going to be a rounding error, Ty. That's actually quite a lot of your cloud bill potentially behaving itself, right?
Yeah, 100%. That, and it could be massive. It could be a massive saving. And guess what? Availability is underrated. Is the underrated headline. So GPT 5.6 is live through standard global across all 28 existing global regions, and through standard data zones from day one. Priority processing and provision are also coming very, very soon.
Perfect, Ty. And look, that kind of very neatly brings us to the second announcement, okay, which is where your data is allowed to live. Mentioned the new Asia Pacific data zone, Ty. It's now generally available. Let's have a little talk about that.
Yeah, sure. So first of all, anybody outside of APAC, don't tune out. This is a pattern, not a region. It means APAC customers can run frontier OpenAI models while keeping data processing within the Asia Pacific region. So no separate environments that are stitched together, no waiting for new models or anything like that to turn up locally.
Yeah, so I guess now we've got three deployment shapes. Okay, we've got that global, we've got data zone, and now regional, Ty. So, and I guess we pick based on our sovereignty, any compliance or performance needs that we might have as a business. But you're going to keep that one consistent deployment and operation experience across all of them, right?
Yeah, correct. And do you know what? There's a lovely customer quote in an announcement, Viva Republica. That's tossed, the big Korean fintech. So their chief data and AI officer says the APAC data zone lets them keep the data processing regionally anchored while accessing advanced AI models at scale. So that says it all, really.
No, it does, and that's the whole game for regulated industries, right? Isn't it really? Finance, healthcare, public sector. The blocker was never really that the model wasn't good enough. It was always about, am I allowed to run it here? So this is quietly removing that thing, right, Ty?
Yeah, exactly. So that's the bill sorted. Right model in the right place. Now the fun starts really, and that's part two or pillar number two, and that's generate. So John, over to you.
Yeah, look, okay, so we start this off. So a great model is really just the starting point. So to put an agent into production, it needs somewhere to run. So it needs some knowledge of your business, and it's also going to need to be governed across all of these tools to get access. It's also going to have memory across conversations we need to consider, and it's got to be presented and have a path to get to those real users. And that's where Foundry is now shipping all of that as a built-in capability, Ty.
So we start with where it lives then. Hosted agents in the Foundry agent service are now generally available, which is fantastic news. One production runtime per agent builds with basically any framework. So Microsoft Agentic Framework, the GitHub Copilot, SDK, or LangGraph, and guess what? Others as well.
Yeah, so basically, I'm not locked into Microsoft's framework to get to the Microsoft runtime, right, Ty?
Correct. And that's the point. Bring your harness, they'll run it. And it's enterprise ready on day one. So that's network isolation with Azure Virtual Networking integration, which keeps agent traffic inside your security boundary.
It's good stuff. And there's also resilient task support. That's in private preview at the minute, which I think is a little bit underrated, if I'm honest. It means those long running agents can survive any failures and still resume from that. So basically, the platform keeps the sandbox alive, your harness checkpoints it, and together the agent can kind of pick up from where it left off in the event of those failures or errors.
Yeah, and this really matters actually. The second you have a human in the loop approval or multi-turn reasoning, you don't want a 2-hour job dying at 1 minute 90 seconds and then starting from scratch again.
Yeah, exactly that. And that's where the agent knows, that's Foundry IQ fundamentally. It's now generally available. You know, and just remember that Foundry IQ, that's the SLA-backed knowledge layer that is behind every agent.
Yeah, and it unifies three things: work IQ for real-time awareness, and that's for Microsoft 365 world. You've got Fabric IQ for your structured data, and Web IQ for low latency live web grounding. So you're not having to hand build and retrieve and do retrieval pipelines from scratch. Grounding is the platform feature.
Yeah, so I guess a question, how does it reach the tools, Ty? The answer is that's Toolboxes. That's now gone generally available. So instead of shipping every tool definition on every request, a toolbox dynamically picks the right tool for the job.
Which, let's be honest, is a real cost and quality win. Fewer tokens per request and a cleaner, more grounded set of tools the models has to reason with. So that means one, less noise, two, better decisions.
Yeah, 100%. Look, I got two more I want to flag here, Ty. Memory and routines, okay? Both of those things have gone into public preview now. Procedural, user, and session memory, so the agent can carry context across any interactions, plus routines that let it run on that schedule, or wake up on a specific event, like maybe a ticket is being raised and flagged somewhere, or maybe there's a new file being created and landing in some storage account somewhere. You can be created those with routines, which is cool to see now.
Yeah, and then we have Voice Live for hosted agents, which is GA2. So real-time voice on the agents you've already built through the Azure Voice Live SDK, which is brilliant.
That is pretty cool, and it's so simple to add that voice live to your agents as well. I was playing with that the other day. But look, there's going to be one here that makes leadership kind of sit up. Okay, this is the point around publishing those agents through to Microsoft Teams or through to Microsoft 365 Copilot. That is now generally available as of next week. So the agent your developers build lands right basically where all of your workforce is sitting and working every day, right, Ty?
Yeah, and with identity permissions and policy flowing through automatically, and it even works with network isolated agents behind the private endpoint, and that's the real last mile solved. So build it once, and it shows up in Teams and Copilot with governance intact.
Yeah, that's generate at the end of the day, Ty. So we covered that off. It leaves the pillar, I guess, that nobody really ever demos, but everybody needs, Ty, right? That's govern.
That's right, because an agent you can't see, can't improve or secure is an agent you can't put into production. So Foundry treats trust as a platform job, not for the developers in their homework.
Yeah, exactly. So look, let's start with seeing what it did. Tracing and evaluation for those hosted agents is now generally available as well. So you can see exactly what an agent did, why it did it, and where it went wrong. You can evaluate all of that behavior systematically, both before and after you've shipped the agent.
And then making it better and cheaper. So the agent optimizer is in public preview. It treats your prompts, skills, models, and tools together and finds better configs, which is amazing. And here's the golden nugget: it can very, very often hold the quality while moving to a smaller, cheaper model. So guess what? Yeah, by doing the tuning, you're also tuning it to pay for itself as well.
Yeah. Look, and I guess that one of the points there is proving the value of these agents. So here we go. ROI for agents is now in private preview. So it's going to connect all of those agent traces together. It's going to bring business value evaluations into the mix, and it's going to look at the running costs all in a single view. Net value, total cost, current ROI, all right there in the dashboard, Ty.
Yeah, and that should be a conversation you should be having with your CFO. This agent is making more money than it actually costs. So now you can actually answer everything with data.
Yeah, exactly that. Look, and underneath it all, are the cost levers. You've got model router sending each request to the right model. We've got that prompt caching, which hopefully cuts that redundant compute power down. We've got PTU spillover protecting you through any spikes or any overusage of that particular model, plus the full spread of purchase options. Remember, we've got standard, we've got priority processing, we've got PTUs with provision throughputs, and of course, we've got batch ties. So lots of options there.
Yeah, and the nice thing is this is not just theoretical. Did you know that Adobe, for instance, are building on GitHub the Foundry agent service and Azure functions to get agents into their applications faster? You've then got Telefónica, who make Foundry the core of its corporate agentic platform. And this is the first wave of tackling network operations. So for a telco, this is the most complex and strategic domain for them. Using the agent framework, hosted agents, and AI gateway with Azure Logic apps, which is amazing.
Yeah, one thing that I heard, Tata Consultancy Services are using the agent optimizer to tune agents in a really structured way. So measuring those real gains in task adherence and execution efficiency instead of really having to hand tweak any of those prompts.
Yeah, so this should be telling us and everybody who's listening that it's not just demos. These are some of the largest, most regulated organizations on the planet, and it's already in production.
Yeah, and the pattern is consistent. Teams that used to spend weeks integrating, securing, and deploying agents are now doing it in days, Ty. On infrastructure that clears their compliance bar. That's the real signal we need to be looking out for here.
Yeah, it's amazing for some of these organizations. So let's land it then, John. If our viewers should remember three things from today, what would it be, John?
Okay, first up, I would suggest the model is now a choice. Okay, so we've got GPT 5.6 Sol, Terra, Luna. Try and match that capability, match the speed and the cost to each workload instead of just overpaying and going for one giant model.
And number two?
So number two for me would be production is a platform feature, not a project. So think about hosted agents, Foundry IQ, Toolboxes, memory, voice, and very soon we've got that publishing straight into Teams and Microsoft 365. It's that whole platform into production, Ty.
Cool. And finally, number three?
Yeah, number three for me would be trust is built in. Okay, we've got tracing, we've got evaluation, we've got the agent optimizer and the ROI for agents, meaning you can see it, you can improve things, and you can prove it's actually going to be worth running for your business. So there we go, Ty. I guess we've got build, we've got generate, we've got govern. We've talked about frontier models. We've talked about the platform and the production runtime element. And we've got those enterprise governance and distribution capabilities across Microsoft 365, all across one platform. What else is there to cover off here, Ty, right? So what should we do next? Everything we talked about is live right now in Microsoft Foundry. The fastest way in through hosted agents, quick start, we'll put a link below. You can set it up, you can test and deploy a production ready agent pretty much end to end in a matter of minutes, right?
Yeah, and for everybody who's listening, if you're starting from zero, we've included a free 12-lesson AI agents for beginners curriculum, and that's in the description.
Yeah, no, good stuff, good stuff. So I guess the message here is have a play with GPT 5.6, the family of models that we've got there now. Route a real world service through to Luna and watch what happens to your costs. And tell us in the comments what you're building at the moment. That'd be cool to see.
Absolutely. And if it helps join the dots on Foundry, do us a favor, hit the like and subscribe and ring the bell so you don't miss the next episode.
Yeah, because remember, in this agentic era, things move weekly. So we'll be back next week.
Until then, keep building.
Cheers all. See you on the next one.